So this week, markets have been in complete and utter turmoil with the uncertainty of inflation coming in tomorrow. As if I'm recording this, when you guys see this, it'll be today. In fact, you probably already would have seen it. And on top of that, guys, on Friday, we have another batch of uncertainties, Q1 earnings for the banks. And one specific CEO for one of those banks, the biggest one in the United States, recently said something that I could cause a lot of people a lot of money. So I want to take a look at that. And of course, I want to take a quick look at that bank's overall fundamentals to see if whether or not it is a good price to buy it at currently. Now, the bank that I'm talking about, guys, it is JPM, and that CEO, it is none other than Jamie Dimon. He recently came out with a statement that really took back a lot of people. So we're going to talk about that today. And of course, we'll talk about that as well tomorrow during the live stream. As I said, guys, we're going to live stream this week, Wednesday and Friday, mainly to cover the CPI and bank earnings. But I do want to cover this very, very briefly today. And of course, look at JP Morgan's overall fundamentals to see whether or not the company is a good buy right now or maybe at a lower point. And depending on how inflation comes in and how the market will react to that, at the end of the day, that really is all that matters. And then when earnings come in on Friday, maybe a good time to buy. So make sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really does help her with the algorithm on YouTube as well as Rumble. Make sure to follow us on X. And again, guys, we will be live streaming this week only on Wednesday and Friday. Next week, we're probably going to go back to the normal Tuesday and Thursdays or even more live streams, assuming that there are more earnings coming out. So thank you so much for watching. And with that said, let's get started with this video. So let's jump into exactly what Jamie Dimon said. Now, this guy's, man, I really do want to cover this more tomorrow on the live stream, especially to get Mike's reaction to this, because I just did a very, very quick read of this and wow, just wow. And again, this is coming from the guy that is the CEO of the #1 bank in the United States. If anybody has Jay Powell on the DMs, like straight up speed dial kind of mode, it's him, right? It is essentially Jamie Dimon, this guy right here. So take his words not with a grain of salt, right? His words do have weight, guys. I would actually argue that, aside from Jerome Powell, he's second in command, essentially, when it comes to the economy, right? Him, the CEO of Bank of America, Citi, and Wells Fargo, of course, the 4 banks. But take a look at what he just said here. This was from the 8th, so just a day ago. So if I'm recording just 2 days from when you guys see this, Jamie Dimon says rates could spike to 8%. AI akin to the printing press. Now, I don't know too much about this latter end. I'm more interested in this former end. So let's read this. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon says that markets should be prepared for more turbulence than what it is currently priced in his annual letters to shareholders, which I really am excited to read JP Morgan's financial statement earnings report, because at this point in the game, guys, Jamie Dimon is the only CEO actually saying the quiet part out loud. He really, really is. Not only has he said in the past that the economy is buoyed up by government spending, he's actually going to reiterate this here. And on top of that, we recently saw a video, this was a few weeks ago, where he was doing an interview where he pretty much just said that people are pricing in a really, really high soft landing probability, where he thinks that it's not. In fact, he does mention it here as well. But let's continue reading this. Dimon cast doubt on the confidence that the U.S. economy will see a soft landing and the corresponding equity valuation. Quote, equity values by most measures are at the high end of the valuation range, and credit spreads are extremely tight. These markets seem to be pricing in at a 70 to 80% chance of a soft landing, modest growth along with declining inflation and interest rates. He essentially just said the entirety of the hopes for the US stock market in one sentence, right? These markets are pricing in a 70 to 80% soft landing with modest growth, meaning companies will continue to grow, while at the same time inflation decreasing and interest rates also decreasing as well. I believe the odds are a lot lower than that. In the meantime, there seems to be an enormous focus, too much so, on monthly inflation data and modest changes to interest rates, but the die may be cast. He pointed to, listen to this, guys, huge fiscal spending The trillions needed each year for the green economy, the remilitarization of the world, and the restructuring of global trade as contributions to inflation. Notice which one he says first though, right? The fact of the matter is that huge fiscal spending. He knows. He said this several times already. Guys, the economy is being buoyed up specifically by fiscal spending. And the fact that he's saying it again, I really can't wait till the earnings report. And he also goes on to say, I'm not sure models could pick this up. Small changes in interest rates today may have less impact on inflation in the future than many people believe. Therefore, we are prepared for a broad range of interest rates from 2 to 8% or even more, with equally wide-ranging economic outcomes from strong economic growth with moderate inflation. In this case, higher interest rates will result from higher demand for capital, to a recession with inflation, i.e. stagflation, which would be the worst economic scenario, he added. Now, he goes on to talk about AI, but there's only one paragraph, guys. That pretty much sums it up, right? That essentially pretty much sums it up, and that's essentially what we've been saying here on the channel, that I personally believe when it comes to inflation, right? When it comes to inflation, we are going to see it either stagnate or tick up a little bit. And if we take a look at really quick over here, the inflation projected for tomorrow, well, when you guys see this, it'll be today. Core CPI, guys, it is expected for the year-over-year one, it is expected to tick down from 3.8 to 3.7. Very, very interesting, but there really isn't much difference there, guys. It really, really isn't. Normal CPI, though, it is expected to go up by 0.2, 3.2 to 3.4. The thing is that no matter what these numbers come in, if core CPI comes in line to that 3.7, and let's say normal CPI comes in at like 3.5, markets are going to run because, oh, well, it's core CPI. It's core CPI, right? So they'll run it no matter what. I mean, Mike has even said it here. He's like, you know, they're going to find any and all reason to run it up. That really is it. Now, the only way that that doesn't happen is if both of these numbers come in massively high. We're talking like near 4% or 3.9 or 4% for the core CPI, or upwards of like 3.5 or 3.6% for the normal CPI. But JP Morgan is essential, or JB Dimon is essentially thinking that prepare for interest rates to go up to 8% if possible, which I don't really know if he's talking about the retail interest rates, i.e. the ones that we use, or is he talking about the federal funds rate? Don't really know. Wish he would specify. However, though, 8% though, it is absolutely massive. Now, with that, let's actually take a look at now JP Morgan's overall financials to see if whether or not this company seems like a good buy right now. So let's take a look at this, guys. JP Morgan here on the calculator. Now, before we actually move on, I forgot that because we're taking a look at now the 10-year analysis, I need to update the bank and insurance valuation ones to the 10-year one. So I just realized it. I will get this done by Friday. So for now, we're going to be using the normal stock evaluation ones, at least for the graphs. But for the valuation, we'll just come back over here. It really shouldn't change much. Now, when it comes to this, guys, we can see that the ticker, it is JPM, market cap of $568 billion with a PE of, and this is kind of crazy, a PE of 12.15 with a current share price of almost $200. Absolutely insane. If we take a look at this though on the 1 year, you guys can see that ever since October, oh man, look at that, October 27, 2023, reached a low of $135.69. And then after that, it's just been to the moon, straight up to the moon. 52-week range of $126.83 to $200.94. Didn't even realize that this thing touched 200. On the 1 year though, this is up 54.16%. Year to date, almost 16%. All in all though, just today alone, as of April 9th, this thing fell 0.67%. and post-market 0.08%. Now, they do pay out a dividend of $4.60, which it is a yield of 2.32%, a payout ratio of 25.28, a 5-year CAGR of 7.5 with 9 consecutive years of dividend payment. Ex-dividend date passed, unfortunately, as of April 4th. Payout date will be on April 30th, and they do pay their dividends quarterly. And based off the current shares outstanding and this dividend, they pay out almost $1.1 billion every single year. So now let's take a look at the fundamentals on the 10-year for the first time for JP Morgan. Starting with the net income, we got 10 years ago of $21.7 billion, 2 year ago of $49.6 billion, increase of 128%. Nice consistent increase all in all. Dip here during COVID, spike up, and dip here again once the interest rates started occurring, but then they recovered nicely. All in all, guys, this is a solid 85%. Taking a look at now the revenue, we got 10 years ago of $92 billion, 1 year ago of $146 billion. That is an increase of 58.75%. And as you guys can see, this looks even better than that of the net income. That's why I'm going to give this a 95%. Here we can take a look at the assets as a reference only, as well as the liabilities as a reference only. And if we take a look at the assets minus the liabilities, I mean, this looks absolutely incredible. I forgot to change this, my bad. But all in all, guys, this looks absolutely incredible. Nice, consistent increase. This is very, very smooth for a 10-year graph, not going to lie. Average total assets of $3.1 trillion, liabilities of $2.8 trillion, and with a difference of $275.33 billion. Guys, I'm going to give this an easy 100%. And if we take a look at now the shares outstanding, I mean, this is, wow, once again, really, really nice decreasing graph. Even during COVID, guys, they still bought back shares, going from 3.7 billion shares as of 10 years ago to today of 2.88 billion shares. That is a decrease of 22.55%. And previous year to the current year, it is a buyback of almost 2%. Once again, an easy 100%. All right, guys, and when we take a look at the overall valuation, I mean, it's JP Morgan. It's not surprising that this thing is upwards of 90+%, right? 94%. We all know JP Morgan. If you're going to be invested in any bank, honestly, there's a lot of risk with the whole, bank term lending program ending and a bunch of other stuff. But honestly, if you just want exposure to a bank, man, JP Morgan's by far the only one that you might want to get into. At least that's the only one that I hold till today, because I at least want some exposure, and that's why my only investment when it comes to the banking system, it is that of JP Morgan, because the way that I see it is, if they go under, the whole entire economy, U.S. economy, goes under as well. Now, with that, let's go into now the valuations when it comes to this company. And while this is not set up for the 10-year, you really don't need it. All you really just need is the current year. And as you guys can see, it is upwards of $104.45 for the book value. And if we take a look at the tangible one, $85.03. And if we take a look at the price divided by these book values, we can see that currently, guys, in regards to the book value per share, this is 1.89 and the tangible one is 2.32. You want these numbers to be as closest to 1 as possible, or if not even lower than 1, where it would be considered undervalued. I look at this and I see JP Morgan is essentially overvalued. But however, if you take a look at this from a PE perspective, it is not. However, there is one other kind of analyst that I do want to show you guys as well. And that is Seeking Alpha's factor for grades, because they do have a bunch of stuff here when you do pay for the membership. Now, I know that some of you guys don't have it, but I'm willing to show everybody here. When it comes to the factor for grades, they are a C+ when it comes to growth, profitability A+, that's not surprising, momentum A, revisions B, valuation though D-, and their valuation for the past 6 months hasn't even come close to the C grade at all. Now, when it comes to Seeking Alpha analysts, they're currently rating this as a buy. Wall Street analysts buy, and then quant it is a hold. So it's a little bit weird. However, from a valuation perspective, I do agree with Seeking Alpha in that it is not a good valuation at all currently. And if we take a look at these dividends, the current share price, putting in $6,215, this nets you $62.60 in dividends. So guys, yes, you're not really getting a lot, and valuation is saying that it is overpriced, but then again, who knows what could happen tomorrow or today as you guys are seeing this, as well as when their earnings release. All in all, though, that's pretty much all I wanted to show for this video. Again, when you guys see this, I might release this at 9 o'clock? I think so. I think I'm going to release this, guys, at around 9 a.m. So that way we know what CPI came in at, and we'll see how the markets react in about 30 minutes. But again, there's a lot of catalysts going on here. And just because the market, or just because the CPI may come in higher or lower, well, job numbers came in exceedingly high and markets gained, even though that wasn't the narrative 24 hours beforehand. So I don't have no idea what could happen here. I really have no idea what could happen here, and only time will tell. But thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, everybody. And of course, make sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really does help with the algorithm on YouTube as well as Rumble. Follow us on X, and in just a few hours, well, I guess not a few hours, but at around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys, we will be live streaming CPI and our reaction to it. So that will be very, very fun. So make sure to follow us in order to catch that live stream again, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube as well as Rumble. So thank you so much for watching. Peace out, and we will see you all next time.